Hello everyone and welcome to the Week 12 ONIT preview show. This week we have another dose of the college football playoff rankings, some ranked matchups that will result in shakeups throughout both of the polls, and 5 games where ONIT teams face one another in Week 12. Can't wait to get into all of that, but before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos where we preview and recap each week in college football. And we will also have a way for you to get involved at the end of the show, so stick around till the end. You won't want to miss that, and how you can show off some of your best card pulls in a feature video. Now let's get into our Week 12 box.
What's in the box?
Our Week 12 ONIT preview box features our locally sourced but nationally relevant headlines for all of our ONIT teams, including the 5 ONIT versus ONIT matchups that we are going to have over the course of the weekend. We'll also talk about the players who are on slab watch going into Saturday who might be making the grade in Sunday's episode, and we'll conclude with the checklist where we show you the names and games you should be watching throughout the 3 different time slots on Saturday. Let's get right on into it, talking about our ONIT versus ONIT matchups. We'll kick things off here with Kansas State traveling to Stillwater to take on Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are still looking for their first win in Big 12 play. They are 0-6 so far in conference action, while Kansas State comes into this game 3-3 in the Big 12 and 4-5 overall. While Oklahoma State is 1-8 and again 0-6 in Big 12 play. The big problem for the Cowboys this season has been the defense has not been able to stop teams during conference play, and it's not going to be an easy task for them again this weekend as Avery Johnson and the Wildcats come into town. Johnson is a guy who can hurt you in multiple different ways, and he loves to connect with his big play wide receiver, Jace Brown. In this game, for Oklahoma State, the defense and the offense have both been struggling. But the Kansas State offense comes in averaging 362 yards per game, just under that mark. They pass for about 220 yards per contest. And for Oklahoma State, they're giving up 443 yards per contest. That's 130th in the FBS, including 272 passing yards. That's also 130th. So the defense is going to have to find a way to try to slow down Avery Johnson through the air. Shots will be available here for Kansas State if this plays out like how it has over the last 8 weeks for Oklahoma State. So we'll see how that matchup goes. Another big thing will be third downs. Oklahoma State allows their opponents to convert 48% of the time on third down. Can the Cowboys get off the field and get those crucial stops, or will Kansas State be able to run away with this game in Stillwater? It'll be a noon kick between the Wildcats and the Cowboys on ESPNU. Another Big 12 matchup, we'll see the West Virginia Mountaineers heading out west to take on the Arizona State Sun Devils. For West Virginia, this is a game that they need to grab if they want to try and make a bowl game this year. They're 4-6 so far, 2-5 in Big 12 play. Arizona State 6-3, 4-2 in Big 12. For the Sun Devils, their season really been derailed with the season-ending injury to Sam Leavitt. For West Virginia, their season is on the upswing. Big wins over Houston, a win last week over Colorado. They continue to improve each and every week. So this is definitely a winnable game for the Mountaineers. It is tough having to travel out west to go play this one against a good Arizona State team. Don't get me wrong, just because Sam Leavitt is out does not mean that Arizona State is not capable of winning this contest. They average 409 yards per game on offense, does Arizona State. One of the top 50 in the country there for the Sun Devils. Even with Jeff Sims at quarterback, he was able to run the ball effectively. He broke Arizona State's single-game quarterback rushing record last time the Sun Devils took the field. So West Virginia's going to have to be prepared for that, but their quarterback play has improved recently with Scotty Fox Jr. really coming into his own as a freshman. He's made some mistakes, but he's also looked very poised. He's shown some flashes for the Mountaineers. If he can play well, West Virginia might be able to steal this one on the road, and they would be 1 win away from bowl eligibility. We'll see how it goes. It's a 1 o'clock kick on TNT on Saturday. A super interesting matchup comes to us out of the SEC with the 2-7 Arkansas Razorbacks still looking for their conference win as they head to Baton Rouge to take on the 5-4 LSU Tigers, 2-4 in the SEC. We just saw LSU last week unable to do much offensively against Alabama in their loss in Tuscaloosa. Can the Tigers get back on track here against Arkansas? And for Arkansas, can the defense get some stops? Garrett Nussmeier was benched last week for Michael Van Buren. Not sure what's going to happen with the quarterback situation there for the Tigers, but for Arkansas, Taylon Green has been one of the best quarterbacks in the country this season, and you would imagine him to continue that stellar play. He's had his ups and downs for sure, can be a little turnover prone at time, but this Arkansas team, when you look at kind of how the way their season has shaped out in these fourth quarter collapses, the turnovers, in the end of games, this team could easily be bowl eligible right now if they could have just held on in the fourth quarter in some of these games that look like sure victories that they managed to find a way to lose. So Arkansas 0-5 in the SEC, LSU 2-4. Obviously no Brian Kelly. We saw that last week for LSU, their first time out without him. How did they look this week against a much different opponent compared to the number 4 Crimson Tide, who are humming at the moment? This Arkansas team trying to pick themselves up off the mat. Same can be said about LSU. It's a 12:45 kick on the SEC network. Another fun one coming to us out of the SEC, South Carolina heading to College Station against the number 3 Texas A&M Aggies. Aggies remain unbeaten, 9-0, 6-0 in the SEC, while South Carolina is 3-6 and 1-6 in SEC play. This is a game where you have two of the best quarterbacks in the conference going head-to-head. Lenora Sellers on one side for South Carolina and Marcel Reed on the other for Texas A&M. When you looked at the start of the season, Lenora Sellers was probably in everybody's top 3 when it came to SEC quarterbacks and going into the season, the type of season they expected him to have. And Marcel Reed was on the outside looking in. Well, those have kind of flip-flopped. Sellers is still having a great season, but Marcel Reed has blown away everyone's expectations. Being able to throw to guys like Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion has certainly helped Reed with his Heisman candidacy, and this is a game where he could plant his flag against South Carolina, a team that has been struggling in the conference. They've played some teams really tough, had a close one against Alabama, got kind of rolled over by Ole Miss. Can they find some footing? Offensively has been the biggest struggle for South Carolina, the ability to sustain drives and then get the ball into the end zone when they do reach the red zone has been one of the biggest struggles for the Gamecocks. Is this the week that they finally figure it out, or will Texas A&M's defense led by Cassius Howell be too much to handle for the Gamecocks, and will Texas A&M go to 10-0? We'll see at 12 o'clock. It's a noon kick Eastern time on ESPN. Our game of the week also comes to us from the SEC with a top 25 matchup that sees the number 11 Oklahoma Sooners at 7-2, 3-2 in conference play, heading to Tuscaloosa to take on the number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide. 8-1 for Alabama this season, 6-0 in the SEC. Their only loss came in the very first week against a Florida State squad that upset them. Alabama since then has gotten right back on track, while Oklahoma started off the season strong, has been sputtering a bit of late. A lot of that has to do with the health of John Mateer. His accuracy as a passer has really fallen off ever since having midseason hand surgery. They had a bye last week, did Oklahoma. Is this the week where Mateer finally looks fully healthy? That is the question. This Oklahoma defense is fearsome too. R. Mason Thomas leads the way for the Sooners, and they're going to try to get after Ty Simpson, Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Jam Miller, a lot of talent on that Alabama offensive roster. So we'll see how it goes in terms of Oklahoma trying to limit the passing attack for Alabama. One thing that's interesting about this game is Oklahoma has a great rush defense, one of the best in the country on defense. They only allow 82 yards per game. That's 4th in the nation. But Alabama can't run the football. They haven't run the football successfully all season. So it's strength on weakness, which is something that you would think might matter, but in reality, when Alabama doesn't run the football well already, if Oklahoma shuts down the run, it's no different than any other game that the Crimson Tide have played so far this season. So it's going to be on the arm of Ty Simpson. Can he lead Alabama to this victory, keep them undefeated in the SEC, and keep them in that collision course with Texas A&M for the SEC championship? It's a 3:30 kick on ABC. That's when we'll find out how our game of the week plays out. Look at the rest of our ONIT teams that are playing this weekend, beginning with number 1 Ohio State. They'll host UCLA in Columbus. UCLA was a team that was on the upswing, especially after their win over Penn State. But over the last couple of weeks, things have started to come crashing down for the Bruins. Should be a good one, though, in this contest. We'll get to see Nico Amaliva against Julian Sayin, a fun quarterback battle to watch here in that contest. And a huge game for number 10 Texas taking on number 5 Georgia in Athens. This will be a playoff needle-moving contest. If Texas can win this game, their playoff hopes are alive and well. Even with a loss, they can still make the playoff. But if they take down number 5 Georgia on the road, that would be such a big win for this Texas team, who, again, a couple of weeks ago looked like they were dust. They barely won on the road at Kentucky, barely beat Mississippi State. If they go on the road and beat Georgia, the committee will easily have them inside the top 10, as they're number 10 right now, but they could potentially move up all the way, 5, 6, who knows. This is a Texas team that at the start of the year could be right back to where their hopes and dreams were. So we'll see how it goes in Athens, but that is definitely a big-time game to watch as USC gets the Iowa Hawkeyes at the LA Coliseum. Iowa is still a team that is in the college football playoff ranking, coming in at number 21. USC comes in at number 17 in the AP poll. Iowa is not ranked in the AP poll, but the Hawkeyes coming off a bitter loss against Oregon, where they lost on a last-second field goal. USC coming off a drubbing of Northwestern. They get the Hawkeyes at home, but this is a big challenge. This Iowa team is not an easy matchup for anybody in the country because they grind you down defensively. So Jaden Mayava and Makai Lemon are going to have to be firing on all cylinders if USC wants to put up points against this difficult Big Ten defense. Number 18, Michigan will be at Northwestern. The Wolverines coming back to action after a week off. Looked really good on the ground last time out as they were able to run all over Purdue, as Jordan Marshall scored 3 touchdowns to help them secure that victory at home. So Michigan will get Northwestern on a noon kickoff. Number 21, Tennessee also will be in action. They play New Mexico State in a home contest. Tennessee looking to sling it through the air with Joey Aguilar posting nearly back-to-back 400-yard performances. We'll see if he can cross the 400-yard threshold here against New Mexico State in an out-of-conference contest. Boise State is at San Diego State in a late-night kick, 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific there from San Diego. This is a game with the Mountain West Conference Championship marbles in its hand. San Diego State is undefeated in the conference. Boise State suffered their first loss to Fresno State. If the Broncos lose again, San Diego State will be on the way to hosting the Mountain West Conference Championship. If Boise State can win, they will be right back into the conversation to play in and potentially host the Mountain West Conference Championship. So a huge game here for the Mountain West. Florida with a huge game as well. They travel to number 7 Ole Miss. DJ Lagway has been named the starter after he was benched a week ago in the drubbing against Kentucky. Can Lagway find his wide receivers like Dallas Wilson and make some plays on the outside in this contest? We will see. Florida's going to need some big explosives if they want to keep up with that Ole Miss offense. Florida State will get to host Virginia Tech. For both of these teams, the season has been very sporadic. Some big wins, but some crushing losses as well. For Florida State, a win here would be a great opportunity for them to make a bowl game. They would have 5 wins on the season and would need just one more to become bowl eligible. 1-5 so far in ACC play for Florida State. It has not gone well for them, but it's been the same story for Virginia Tech as well, just 2-3 in ACC play. So Florida State at home, great opportunity to pick up a win and potentially become bowl eligible here in the near future. Missouri will get Mississippi State after a tough loss for the Tigers. Without Bo Prabula, Matt Zollers will once again get the start. The level of competition for Missouri comes down here against Mississippi State, but the Tigers have been knocked out of the top 25. They have Ahmad Hardy, and they are going to rely on him. He's been one of the best runners in the country this season. The ground game has been working. They ran the ball effectively a week ago. Can they do it again against Mississippi State? And now that Zollers won't have to face such an aggressive pass rush like Texas A&M, maybe he's got some more time in the pocket where he can hit some of these open receivers, and the Tigers should be able to take down the Bulldogs if that happens. Penn State, off their crushing loss against Indiana, looked like they were going to pull off the upset at home. Now has to travel to East Lansing, Michigan, where they will play Michigan State. It's another team and another matchup where the season for both of these teams has gone off the rails. Obviously, much more so for Penn State than for Michigan State. But the Nittany Lions have the opportunity to get back into the win column as they still search for their first Big Ten Conference win and should be able to get it done here on the road at Michigan State if they play the same way they played against Indiana. Rounding out the schedule is Washington after their loss a week ago on the road to Wisconsin. They'll go back home to Seattle to play a Purdue squad that just got ran over by Ohio State last weekend. Washington suffered injuries to all three of their star offensive players in that loss to Wisconsin, as Damon Williams Jr., Jonah Coleman, and Denzel Boston all ended up dealing with some type of injury throughout the game on the road in Madison. If they are all back healthy, no reason to believe that Washington won't get back into the win column and potentially return to their spot in the AP poll. Up next, we're going to take a look at our Slab Watch to see who is in for a potentially big weekend on Saturday. This is Slab Watch, where we tell you about the 4 players that might end up making the grade on Sunday. These are guys who could have huge impacts in whether or not their team wins or loses on Saturday. Beginning on the defensive side of the ball, we always talk about NIL for all here at ONIT. So we begin with Miles Graham, the linebacker for Florida. The sophomore has 51 tackles so far this season as they go up against Ole Miss. The thing about Graham is that he has played his best against top-tier competition. 5 tackles against Texas, 5 tackles against Texas A&M, with 4 of those being solo tackles, and he had a season-high 8 tackles in their loss against Georgia when Florida nearly pulled it out against the Bulldogs. So he steps his game up when the competition is at its biggest, and this Ole Miss game is a big test for the Florida Gators. So we'll see if Graham can make some plays, get Florida off the field, and potentially pull off an upset over the Ole Miss Rebels. Moving to the offensive side of the ball, we mentioned that the game would be on his shoulders. Ty Simpson for Alabama is on Slab Watch this week because he has diced up AP Top 25 competition. He's completing 69% of his passes against teams inside the top 25 for 1,069 yards and 9 touchdowns, posting a passer rating of 160.1. As he gets an Oklahoma team that comes in number 11 in both the AP poll and the college football playoff ranking. Simpson so far this season, 198 completed passes on 296 attempts. In total, he's thrown for 2,400 yards with 21 touchdowns and just 1 interception. There's also a great article about Simpson and how he persevered at Alabama to reach this time as a starter. You should definitely check that one out. It's on ESPN if you want to read more about Ty Simpson, because he is on Slab Watch going into a big matchup against the Sooners. Back to the defensive side, let's talk about Anthony Hill Jr., the do-it-all linebacker for the Texas Longhorns. The junior is going into a matchup on the road in Athens against number 5 Georgia, and he has been instrumental in the defense being elite for Texas this season. 64 tackles, 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and an interception for Hill Jr. so far on the year, and he's going to try to add to all of those numbers in this game against Georgia because it is going to take a big defensive performance from Texas if they want to win on the road in this top 10 contest. Last time out, Hill had himself a sack, also had 4 total tackles, 3 of those solo in a win against Vanderbilt for Texas. That was a big win for the Longhorns. Hill's performance on the defensive side of the ball helped Texas jump out to that early 17-0 lead. So he is on slab watch going into another big-time matchup for the Texas Longhorns. And lastly, as we return to the offensive side of the ball, let's talk about Avery Johnson, the quarterback for Kansas State. The junior from Wichita this year has been dialed against conference opponents. 60% completion percentage for 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns with a 138.4 passer rating in Big 12 play. Johnson's a big reason why Kansas State has been able to win as many games as they have this year. On the season, he's 167 of 273 passing the ball for 1,991 yards with 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He'll be looking for his main man, Jace Brown, on the outside against a Cowboys defense that has given up a ton of yards through the air. Those are our players that are on slab watch this Saturday. Make sure you look out for them throughout the course of the day, and we'll see if they end up making the grade on Sunday. And speaking of things to watch, let's take a look at that vaunted checklist. The checklist is here. These are the names and games to watch throughout our early afternoon and nighttime windows. Start your day off here on this Saturday by checking out South Carolina at number 3 Texas A&M. In the afternoon, you can watch number 11 Oklahoma take on number 4 Alabama. And at nighttime, we got number 10 Texas at number 5 Georgia. Lenora Sellers, Ahmad Hardy, Taylon Green, Jordan Tyson, and even Ryan Niblett on the special teams are all players that you should be watching for. Gotta shout out our boy Ryan Niblett. We love NIL for all. He's had key punt return touchdowns for Texas in a couple of their wins that have really changed the game in a big way. We'll see if he can do that on special teams against Georgia this weekend. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in and watching this week's edition of the ONIT Preview Show as we go into Week 12. If you want to be in an upcoming video, make sure you submit your clips down at the link below, onitathlete.com/highlights. It's also in the description for you, so you can easily click on there and have access. You can post videos, screenshots, whatever tells the story of how you got your big pull, whether it's a banger autograph, a nice city limits card, a low number parallel, maybe even one of those film ticket autos that look so clean. We love to see any and all of your best hits so we can share them with the community and talk about them in upcoming episodes. So make sure you check the description below so you can submit your hits. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. We do previews and recaps every single week here on the ONIT Athlete channel because we believe in covering college sports. We're here to connect fans and athletes through team-based collectibles, and what better way to do that than talk to each of you every single week about what's going on in college athletics. We'll see you back here on Sunday for the Week 12 review show. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great day and enjoy your weekend.